If there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. Imagine walking into a library. Shelves stretching from floor to ceiling. Thousands of voices, thousands of stories. But something is missing. A story that sounds like you. A story that understands your history, your struggles, your dreams. For many people, especially black readers in the mid-20th century, that silence was real. Their lives, their voices, their truths were often absent from literature. And then came a quiet but powerful challenge from Toni Morrison. If there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. It wasn't just advice for writers. It was permission. Permission to create the stories the world forgot. Why this saying is popular. This quote became iconic because it empowers creativity and representation. It encourages people not to wait for the world to give them a voice, but to create their own platform. Writers, artists, and entrepreneurs often repeat it because it inspires action and originality. You wanna fly, you got to give up the stuff that weighs you down. Picture someone standing at the edge of a cliff, dreaming about flying. But their pockets are filled with stones, fear, doubt, regret, the expectations of others. No wings can lift that weight. Toni Morrison reminds us with quiet clarity. You wanna fly, you got to give up the stuff that weighs you down. Freedom has a price. Growth has a cost. Sometimes the hardest part of rising is letting go. Why this saying is popular. This line resonates because it speaks to personal transformation. People interpret the weight differently: trauma, toxic relationships, fear, or self-doubt. Its metaphor is simple yet powerful, making it widely shared in motivational and personal development contexts. Definitions belong to the definers, not the defined. Think about how often society labels people. Too different. Too loud. Too quiet. Too much, or not enough. But who gets to decide these definitions? Toni Morrison challenges that power with one piercing sentence. Definitions belong to the definers, not the defined. Suddenly the labels start to look different. Not like truth, but like control. Why this saying is popular. This quote is widely discussed in conversations about identity, race, gender, and power. It reveals how language and labels can shape perception. Many educators and activists reference it because it highlights how narratives are constructed, and who holds that power. At some point in life the world's beauty becomes enough. Imagine a quiet morning. Sunlight spilling through a window. The sound of wind moving through trees. Nothing extraordinary, just life unfolding gently. For years, people chase success, approval, recognition. But Morrison offers a different perspective. At some point in life the world's beauty becomes enough. Not fame. Not applause. Just the quiet miracle of being alive. Why this saying is popular. This quote resonates because it reflects emotional maturity and gratitude. It reminds people that happiness doesn't always come from achievement but from appreciating the present moment. Many readers find comfort in its simplicity and wisdom. Freeing yourself was one thing, claiming ownership of that freed self was another. Freedom sounds simple. Break the chains. Walk away. Start over. But Toni Morrison knew something deeper. Freedom isn't just escaping oppression, it's learning who you are afterward. She wrote. Freeing yourself was one thing, claiming ownership of that freed self was another. Liberation is a beginning, not the end. The real journey is discovering your identity after the struggle. Why this saying is popular. This quote is powerful because it captures the complexity of freedom and identity. It resonates in discussions about personal growth, social justice, and healing. People love it because it recognizes that true liberation involves self-discovery and empowerment.